Hey brothers, Dimitri here. I think it's been long enough that we can finally answer this question after 5 days. So in the end, what is pornography? And why does it matter to define it at all? So we've had replies from Mark, we've had replies from Andrew, we've had replies from Steven. So I thank you all guys for participating to the conversation. And yeah, it definitely helps other brothers think about the issue. And yeah, and we all have our own definition. So I thought I'd share with you mine, which is just an instance of a definition. I don't hold the truth more than anyone else. Yeah, but here is what I've got. So I've got black on my forehead here. I'm doing too much chemistry at home. So pornography is a virtual framework that projects sexual depictions that stimulate the shadow. So it's a virtual framework because if the people who are doing what they're doing in front of a camera, if they were in the room, then it would be completely different because you would be, as an observer, you would be part of that. But because you're in a virtual framework, you're dissociated from the scene. You're just capturing the scene, but you're not contributing by your presence. And that's a big thing. So it has to be virtual, even if it's a magazine, it is still virtual, it is still, you're not in contact with the people who are involved in the scene. So virtual is important. That is projecting, so I like the idea of projecting because projecting is like it's coming out of the screen or out of the medium into your eyes and eventually into your brain. So there's this idea of like it's emitting something back to you, and this bit of idea of violence as well, or intrusion or trauma. And what is it? Sexual depictions. So anything that's traumatic is not pornographic. Snuff, for example, is violent to the extreme, but it's not sexual. So there is this element of sexuality. And finally, that stimulates your shadow, and that's definitely all of you guys who gave a definition, you all mentioned that this fact of getting off from the material is because it feeds the shadow. It stimulates the shadow. Shadow is repressed, and it sees crazy things happening on the screen, and then the shadow is reassured. So that's the most important. And that's why we get off from pornography. We don't get off from erotica because erotica stimulates beauty and love. If you've ever watched two people making love on screen, it's really boring. It's like nuts. It can be beautiful, it can be nice, it can be a nice movie scene, but it's not pornography because it doesn't stimulate your shadow. That's why in most movies there's, especially in the 90s, there's always a love-making scene. We don't really do that anymore. But it's not pornography because it's just two people loving each other. Whereas pornography has this element of fear in whichever way it expresses itself. Yes, and there's intrinsic violence in pornography. There's a transfer of power from one shadow to the other. So I'll cover that in greater depth soon. But it's pretty much what's happening. Okay, so my understanding, virtual framework that is projecting sexual depictions of that stimulate the shadow. Yeah, what about depictions? Yeah, it's mostly visual. Visual is the sense, perception-wise, that most people use if they're auditory or visual or what's the one with the tactile or kinesthetic. In NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, you can look that up, or we can talk about it if you're interested. But yeah, it has to be visual as well. It could be audio. It exists. There's a site called Sound Erotica where they share sounds of erotic encounters or maybe pornographic in nature, but it feels like it wouldn't be as catchy as and addictive as visual. Okay, I think that's it. Just on sound. However, interestingly, if you're still consuming pornography, and there's absolutely no problem with that, try something. Try to get the visual, but cut the sound off. And then you can do the opposite. You can get the sound, but not look at the pictures, and see how that feels. It can be an interesting somatic or perceptual exercise. That's it, guys. That's my definition of pornography. Agree, disagree, incomplete, let me know. Let us know. We're interested. We want to keep the debate open, the conversation flowing. Even if you think your definition is not that interesting, it actually may very well be interesting because some other brothers have the same idea about pornography or not. It feeds the conversation. All right. Thank you. I have to find a way to conclude my videos better than that because so far it's been sucking pretty bad. And see you soon. And please leave a comment. Cheers.